This is the 8th in a series of videos aimed at assisting APIS members with how to apply for FAIRB distinctions. The information in this video is intended to help explain certain key aspects of completing an application and does not replace the need to read the application documents. In this tutorial, I will cover the culling of excess results to finalise your application form. This tutorial continues on from the stage we reached in the previous tutorial where a targeted selection of salon results were chosen and filled in on page C of the distinctions application form. As per the end of the last tutorial, you should have done your counts to ensure the results currently listed on your application have met the required criteria. The targeted selection process used should have hopefully covered this. Now we just need to trim the excess results beyond some spares. This is not actually a FAIRB requirement, but verification does take a lot of time, so we ask Australians not to list lots of results that are not required. It should be noted that each application has to be verified in full, regardless of whether some of those acceptances were on the previous consecutive application. This is to ensure they are valid and filled in without errors. So there's no advantage in verifying all the extra results for a higher level at the time of applying for the previous level. Some people mistakenly think this helps and gets them ahead, but it actually doesn't, as these excess results would have to be verified for both applications, thus taking double the time for those results. As per the last tutorial, so far this draft example application has a lot of extra results. Some spares are a good idea, but we ask that this be no more than 30 extra acceptances. Some applicants can have hundreds of excess results to cull. So here is the draft that we've got, and if this was, for example, how we've in theory built this to be an EFIAP Silver, we have 343 acceptances. It needs 300. So we would be looking to cull a dozen. Now for many applications you're looking to cull a lot more, and I will show you exactly how to do that. First, make a copy of your draft application and work on it as draft number 2. If you make an error and delete a result you wish to use, you can quickly retrieve this from your first draft. Start by removing the highlighting we used in the selection process. So click in the first cell, come down to the last one where the highlighting occurs, remembering not to pick up these right hand cells because they are meant to be coloured, and come like that on the form. Hold down the Shift key, select, come up to the top in the home section and clear the colour. Now sort your document by title first as the criteria and then the FAIRB number. So we're going to again select this cell, but this time we are going to pick up those 2 right hand columns because we don't want that data jumbled. That must go with the acceptances all the way. Hold the Shift, click the far right, come up to Data, hit Sort, and we're going to change that to column C as our first priority, and then column F, which is the salon. Okay. So now our results are in alphabetical order going down the page, but our salons, where it comes to circuits in particular, are grouped together. This will enable us to see the multiple acceptances for each title, and it will also group together those circuit results, which are what are going to be our first target. In particular, we're going to target the multiple acceptances in circuits that have been held in just one country. These are in essence duplicate results, and culling them back to one acceptance per image in that circuit will not impact any counts. Don't delete anything at this stage, just highlight them in red. So coming down the page, at the heart of St Kilda, that has 3 acceptances in a circuit that is all in one country. If I cull 2 of those, it's not going to affect any count whatsoever. Coming up into the home section, and I'll just colour those in red for the moment so that I know that they're ones that I'm probably going to remove. And I'll keep coming down the page like this. For the moment I'm going to skip this one because it's held in more than one country, that being the Morocco and the bicontinental, but I may end up coming back to those later. Coming further down the page, I've got 3 for barking owl in the dual circuit, which is all in one country. Colour those in red. Breaking the waterline has 4 acceptances, all in one circuit, all in one country. If I bring that down to 3, all it's going to cull is acceptances, and so on down the page. So having completed that process where I've retained 1 acceptance per image per circuit, with circuits only involving one country, that process alone on this particular list has actually resulted in 57 acceptances that can be easily culled. I'm not going to cull anything immediately. I will at this point double check it, make quite sure that none of those results that I've earmarked for culling have got awards, because that's easy to miss if you're not looking across the line. And having satisfied myself with that, I'm now going to look at what I would next cull if I needed to. In this particular application I wouldn't need to. I wouldn't even need to cull the amount that I've highlighted, but I'm going to, for the sake of this exercise, look at what we're to cull next, and that is again the circuits, but this time the circuits with multiple countries. For that I need to sort this list ideally into first priority being the FEAP number order, that putting the circuits together, and then the title. So we'll do that sort again. Coming down to the page, select, always making sure we pick up all cells involving data so that they all travel together and don't get jumbled. Data, sort, going back to F as our first priority and C as our second priority, those being the FEAP number column and the title column. And here we've put our circuits and salons back together again. So coming down to a circuit involving more than one country, we've got the bicontinental here, and we've got 2 salons per country, that being for Greece and the UAE. So if I was to look at, say, Kissed by Dawn, which has an acceptance in each leg of that circuit, I could immediately remove 3 of those. And by remove, I'm not going to remove as yet. I'll highlight it in a different colour just so I keep track of these potential culls compared to the previous pass that we did. 1, 2, and that one. That leaves us with 1 in the UAE. If I was going to cull another one, I could say look at Puffing 10 Years On, and I might choose to remove that one from the UAE and leave the other one in Greece. Although really with all the other results both countries are represented anyhow, and so on. Try to keep at least 1 acceptance per image in a circuit, and try to keep at least 1 acceptance per salon in a circuit. For that particular example, that's easy. For other salons, that might be something you have to keep close track of. Make sure you don't completely cull an image that you plan to submit to FEAP when you're targeting the salons. remembering that for EFIAP and AFIAP applicants, they have to show that they've got at least 3 salon acceptances in 3 different salons, and a circuit is still counted as one, but if you've wiped them all out in one circuit, then you can't count that at all. If you are an AFIAP or EFIAP applicant, also make sure you don't cull anything that results in an image losing all of its print acceptances. So far, the above should not have altered any criteria counts other than the total number of acceptances, and the vast majority of applicants will have culled as much as they need to without having to even complete the first, let alone second cull round that we've just done. If you need to cull more, then look at what criteria you have an excess of and target it accordingly. With your chosen culls still highlighted, double check your counts, making sure that you haven't culled anything that you shouldn't have, and then go back and reopen your salon results spreadsheet, that being the working one, not your original master one. We're about to finally cull the results that we don't need off our application form. But as we do that, we also want to keep track of what we've done on the working record of our salon records sheet. That was the one where we've highlighted things as we added them to the form. Now we're going to unhighlight them, any of the ones that we removed from the form. We won't do this on our master document because there's still the verifying officer to check our application form and the FIAP liaison officer to also check it, and further changes may take place as a result. Once those 2 checks have taken place, then absolutely transfer your results to your main master document, at which point, if this was a silver application that was being done, I would mark in each of the results that were counted. And because we've got them highlighted, that becomes quite easy, where we can literally copy across slabs of results into the other document. Returning to the application form now, I want to show you how to safely delete the acceptances that you've targeted for culling. And for this, we have to be very careful not to delete the numbers in this left-hand column, because if you delete these numbers, then your count won't be consecutive, and I've seen quite a few applications where the person has not realised that they've got numbers missing. They get to the bottom of the list, they think they've got the right number of acceptances, and they have in fact culled too many. So we'll say, for instance, delete these 2. I'm going to select the cell with data in it, making sure I don't select these cells here. I will come down to hold the Shift key, and as you can see, I've selected all the cells involving data and making very certain that I've picked up this side as well. I'm going to come up the top to Edit and hit Delete. At this point, it'll give you the option to shift cells in various directions. You want to shift all the cells below it up, so shift cells up, hit OK, and that moves all of these cells as a group up into the spot where that was numbered previously. So the numbering remains untouched and your data remains intact. Having deleted the excess data, I've put the list now back into order according to the title in alphabetical order to do the last column that we have to fill in. And this is very easy. We're numbering the same consecutively, but keeping the same number for the same image, so that we're counting the number of different titles. So going down the list, this would look like this. and so on until you get to the bottom, making quite sure that every row is marked in, and at the end you will have literally the last number that you have here will be the tally of how many different titles you have in your application, which should, if you've done things correctly, be at least the number required for that particular distinction. Your final step is to put your list back into order according to Salon, and that just is to make it easier for verification purposes. For this, don't forget to make sure that you now do include the title number column in your resort, because that is now critical to your data, and then you are ready to submit your application to a verifying officer. At this point, you should be returning to your guidelines document, that being FEA1, which is one of the documents you will have downloaded from the APS website. This is your master document to come back to for anything to do with how to lodge your application, how to fill in your forms, etc. Section 1 deals with all those things that you often have questions about, and indeed it's very unusual to receive a question now that isn't covered by the information in Section 1. Section 2 is a procedures area where it literally gives you a checklist to be able to lodge your application step by step. It starts right at the process where you've had to register with the FEAP liaison officer, what documents you should have, and it steps you right through until the point where you have all your items complete and you need to lodge them in the different directions. Nothing gets sent directly to FEAP by the applicant. Everything goes via the Australian Photographic Society. It's just where you send your printed copies of page B and where you pay your fees will be different, but that is detailed here. Good luck with your applications.